So, as I indicated, at the end of July, when after Gemmel had passed and the coroners came, the sheriffs came, they determined that there was nothing to see here, basically, and they just shut it down. And as Patrice alluded to, it's very odd. I mean, I cannot imagine a black man having an apartment and a young black man, a young white man, excuse me, ending up and being dead in his apartment, and the police coming, and it's like nothing to see here, right? Even if they thought, or especially if they thought there were drugs involved, that is just an impossibility. That doesn't happen. But that is what happened in this case. And it reminds me a lot of what happened with Trayvon Martin, right? Where we found out about it 4 months later. But that basically did a nothing to see here. There's another young, dead black dude. So what? And it's clear that the investigation, I mean, there was no investigation. It's clear what the attitude was of the sheriffs who arrived. Now, shortly thereafter, as I said, when the story broke, folks came forward who also indicated that they had been victims of Ed Buck. And what we're talking about and what has happened, we got immunity for folks to be able to speak. There were many people who thought that we weren't going to get immunity, who really mocked the idea of getting immunity, who said that that was ridiculous, that people don't need immunity. But we know, because we experience this as black people, that we, have folks who come forward. Sometimes the police say, why don't black people want to come forward? Well, because when you come forward as a witness, you are also often treated as a suspect. And so the next thing you know, you being led away in handcuffs and you trying to be of use and of help. And so we wanted to make sure that we protected people who came forward, that they were not going to, feel like they had to hide some aspects or not talk about certain things because they needed to protect themselves from prosecution. Anything you say can and okay, now it might be, not probably will be used against you. So we were able to secure that immunity. We were able to get written agreements of immunity from the district attorney's office, which is almost unprecedented, which is why they thought we weren't going to be able to do it. But because of the concern of community members such as yourself, that pressure was there, and we were able to secure those. And when witnesses came forward, they confirmed what had already been published by Jasmine and said even more. And so what the detectives have in front of them in terms of the picture that they are seeing from the statements of witnesses is that we are talking about a person in Ed Buck who reaches out specifically to young black gay men who he feels are vulnerable for whatever reason, for one reason or another, that they need money, that they are addicts, that they may not have a place to stay, or that he knows might be willing to take it further than maybe people would normally take it. This is not a situation in which we're just talking about prostitution. In many of these cases, there's no actual intercourse type of sexual activity involved. This is his get down. His get down, according to witnesses, is watching black men get higher and higher and higher. That's his get down. And there's something about that is not just, hey, let's get high and jump in a bed. There's something about, it's almost like an experimentation. How far can we take it, right? Jasmine describes it as a Tuskegee-like experiment. How far can I take you? And the further I can take you, the more I get off. It's clear that there is a targeting, not just in terms of the locations and the way that people are, locations that he goes to, but even in other communications, the way that he targets, who he targets, and who specifically he's looking for. That is the picture that's being painted for detectives. Detectives are hearing the same things that we heard that have been publicized about people being injected against their will with methamphetamines, right? Where they make it clear that that's not what I'm down for, that's not what I want to do, and yet they find themselves waking up, pain in their arm, looking down at their arm, seeing needle marks, sometimes going to the hospital. I mean, different evidence that they've been injected and they didn't inject themselves. And these witnesses are credible. Right? People are describing them as non-credible because they were using drugs, or describe them as non-credible because they were allegedly engaged in escort or sex work. But these people are credible. And this is how this gets perpetuated. This is how people don't get help, right? Because people just assume that because people are this way or that way, they're not credible. So these are witnesses that have come forward. The detectives have heard from them. Most of the witnesses, in fact, from my knowledge, all of the witnesses that have actually dealt with Ed Buck, that the police have interviewed, have been the result of the work of the community. It has not been the result of the work of the sheriff's department. In fact, even based upon the last conversation that we had just yesterday with the sheriffs, it's very clear they are dragging their feet. We have no idea what they're waiting on. They keep telling us they are waiting for things. They are waiting on this, and they are waiting on that. They are waiting on this person, and they are waiting on that person. And we're looking at all of the information that's presented to them already. They're talking to people who have actually been in the room with Ed Buck, who have actually been victimized, right? And they still have not made that move to even a basic arrest. We need you all. We need you all to amplify. I mean, the way that they're talking is like Ed Buck is terrible, Ed Buck is this, Ed Buck is that, but they're not. Okay, so where's the thing happening? When is the thing gonna occur, right? When you're actually gonna drop the mic, right? And so that hasn't happened, and it really appears that without the pressure, that's not going to happen. And so we need your help. We have done, as I expressed to the detectives, this is not our investigation where you are helping us. This is your investigation where people are trying to support you. So you can't ask us to, names of people and things that you have the resources, because you have the police power to get. It's like are we supposed to do undercover? I don't understand what we're supposed to be doing here that you cannot do. But it is clear that the full resources of the state, whether that be the sheriff's department, whether it be the district attorney's office and the district attorney's investigators, that is not being used when it comes to this case. And we know that the sheriff is an elected position. We know the district attorney is an elected position. We know they care about what the public is talking about. And so we need for you to, there's a one-sheeter I believe that you all have that has the information for the sheriff's department, that has the information for the district attorney's office. We need you, before we leave today, we're going to ask you to right now text people, call people, email people before you leave. We're going to give you 5 minutes to do that, because we need that information to go to them, that we demand justice, that we demand that they do work, that we demand that they don't just sit around waiting for witnesses and evidence to fall out the sky, that they press themselves and that they push themselves. We ask them to treat Gemmel Moore like he is a rich, white, heterosexual woman. That's what we want. We know they know how to act, because we see how they act when it's a rich, white, heterosexual woman. Do that. That's what we're asking them to do. We're not asking them to come up with new ways of doing things, to be like CSI, we're asking them to do what you do for the white women. Do that. And if you do that, we know that we'll get justice. And so that's the push that we want to make. That's the call that we want to make. And I'm hoping that you all are joining us in that call. Can we depend on you? Can we depend on you to make that call? Can we depend on you to share that call? To let other people know. We want them to get 10 calls every day from someone that you know. Right? 10 people that you know every day, giving them a call, emailing them, texting them, letting them know that we demand the same justice for Gemmel Moore that white women get. That there will not be a double and triple standard of justice. We will not allow it. We will not allow that to stand. want to pass the mic now to my brother Hussein so that we can get a better understanding of the context that we're talking about, so that when we make these calls, when we do this emailing, when we tweet out, that we have a context for what we're talking about.